been having millions of people responding to our posts. Look, it's just getting too much now.
Yeah, we have so many questions. We will try to answer them as well as we can. And today we would like to speak about a tool that some people that write to us and suffer from depression and anxiety. And this is a very simple tool to hopefully help you through those difficult moments, something you can practice before you go to bed. But first, let me introduce you to my lovely husband, Ozay Tulku Rinpoche. Yes!
Yeah, pause. And I introduce you to my wonderful, marvellous, beautiful, adorable, loving, debonair, everything you can ever think of, wife, Ahiranta.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Yay! Thank you.
Would you like a glass of wine?
Yes, please. And let me thank the subscribers. Thank you for your support. And those of you, because the majority of people that watch our videos are not subscribed, and I do the same thing. I watch videos, but I don't always subscribe to all the channels. But please consider subscribing to our little channel. Will help us out. Thank you very much.
Yes, it'll be rewarding.
Yeah.
Because I think we help a lot of people out eventually.
That's right.
So we've come to something in our lives. Like I said before, just for those of you who don't know, Ahiranta spent 5 years in isolation, in a bed, inside her own body, in a kind of prison. And she had to cope with that, and she sailed through it really. And some of those techniques that she used to get through that 5 years, when people were saying, specialists were saying she was never going to get any better, she was going to spend the rest of her life in bed. And luckily enough, she's able to do much more than that. And I think that what Ahiranta learned from those 5 years would be beneficial to a lot of human beings out there who find themselves lonely, isolated, depressed.
Yeah, and we just want to share our experiences, because I was severely ill, and I've now reached the point that I can do this kind of talks and sit in the chair for a while Ozay was also in isolation, but not because he was ill, although some people might consider it ill. He was a bad boy and landed himself in prison.
I created conscious suffering, and Ahiranta created unconscious suffering.
Yeah, that's right.
So
we have
suffering
lots.
is the key.
We have lots to that we would like to share with other people who find themselves in similar unhappiness or illnesses.
I want to tell you one more thing as well before we move on.
Okay.
I want to tell you something about this beautiful woman here. And in all those 5 years, except for when she was in paralysis and stuff like that, but each time I would walk into that room, it was like the sun would shine. There's a big smile on her face. And I think for somebody to be able to conquer those inner demons and to allow the sun to shine like that, they've got something beautiful to say to you.
But I do need to give a little bit of the credit where it belongs, though.
Hey, don't get big-headed now.
No. That's why I have to give it back, because it's not because the smile just naturally arose, because I had tears too. I had also moments of desperation, but because of the care that you provided me, and I just absolutely fell in love with this man. And the moment I looked into your eyes for the first time, I knew I had to come home. But so, although I was in a really bad state physically, I have never been happier. Those 5 years in bed, we always joke about how much fun we had during those years. But what I try to say is that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because if I hadn't gotten ill, I would never have met you in this life. And I will always be internally grateful about that. So anyway, that's enough about us. We just want to share those experiences.
We just want to talk about ourselves.
But let's have a toast. A toast to you, our happiness, and all of you out there. Take
Cheers.
good care and, find it inside yourself like I
find
did.
your inner peace.
Yeah. So we had our daughters here over Christmas, over Easter, and our daughter Christalou and her other half, our beautiful daughter-in-law Jeannie. And every time Jeannie takes a sip, Christalou makes this loud sound. Loud sound. Okay, maybe you should have been there. It was funny. Cheers, darling.
Cheers, lover.
Okay.
This one smells different. Okay.
Okay, so this is something that came to me through our network on the internet, and somebody asked me about what they can do, because often when they go to bed, their mind goes into a race. As long as they are busy during the day, hiding and running away from whatever anxiety is in them, as soon as they lie down, it's like a big tsunami of thoughts. It feels like they're drowning. So this is a technique that you could try. Before you go to sleep and you lie awake and you're battling with the tsunami of thoughts that try to overwhelm you, think about 2 things you were not happy with during that day that you did. 2 things. And then be kind to yourself, because we are talking about bad and good, and we have had another talk about that if you want to hear more about that. But for now we have to use those duality terms, bad and good. So 2 things you were not really happy with and you criticize yourself over. Think about them, and then make the pledge to yourself to accept those things in yourself, or try to do it better, depending on what it is. And then think about 2 things you're really happy about that you did. How did you react? Maybe you kept your cool in a situation, or you mastered to stay on top of an anxiety attack, or whatever it might be. 2 things you did really well and you feel positive about, or even proud about, and try to repeat those things the next day. And that gives you a little bit of a goal, and it might help you to keep that tsunami of negativity a little bit behind.
It comes from the feelings though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's instinct, isn't it? I mean, you can talk to yourself like that, but you're tense, like there's something in you that's tense, and you're scared and you're frightened and you're talking at you, and it's like there's a big lion coming towards you and you're talking at you. It's not really there, but it's going on down here, and so you have to. I consider that if I go to bed and I got anxiety about something, I look at myself and I look at this down here. This is my brain. This is my first brain. This is probably my second brain, and so I scan through my body and I look at it and oh man, that's in a mess down there. What's going on? Like, I'm scared, I'm frightened, I'm anxious. So I tell it to relax. I relax it all and let it go, let the muscles go. And then what I've been doing recently is just, I go into nothingness, and I find that for me is quite easy to do. And I don't know, that's why really I shouldn't speak so much on this particular thing. And but I allow myself to go into my breath, and at the same time as I'm going into my breath, just watching it and keeping nothing going on up here, nothing, just awareness of the body, because if the body becomes tense, then this brain is activating, which is your instincts, is activating, and you're tense again, you're scared or frightened, anxious, but your breath, and let all the anxiousness go, and then focus on just relaxing, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, relax, it's all good, nothing's going to hurt you, everything, just trust, and then you go to sleep. And if it doesn't work first time, just do it again. And then eventually you'll find you'll just drift off into a nice sleep. But the conditions need to be nice too.
Yeah, because you are very... Ozay reached enlightenment while he was in solitary confinement. He took up meditation, and there, during those months in the cell, he went on an exploration inside, an adventure. He was suffering with so much anger. So that is why he took up meditation. He needed to escape. He tried to escape physically twice. He was caught, once, that's another talk. Anyway, a third time he escaped, but that was through meditation, while the moment he reached enlightenment. So what Ozay is talking about is absolutely a very good technique, focusing on the breath. But lots of people get swept away. They focus on the breath for twice, 3 times, and then before they know it, they are swept away with the thoughts again.
Yeah.
So, but still you have really good points to make, because when you started working on your anxiety and your anger, because you had so much anxiety that probably that's why you started getting psoriasis, from all the nerves being locked up, suffering claustrophobia. So you still can remember, although it was in the 80s, you can still remember how you started.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not even sit still. You had such a panic attacks, really, that you had to walk in the figure 8. So if anyone is qualified to talk about it.
Well, that was claustrophobia, that was.
Yes, but it caused panic attack, claustrophobia, yes. Yeah.
And yes, it's just, what we need to remember is that when we go to bed to sleep, this is a talk about sleep.
What people can do, to stop that thought.
Well, what you've got to remember is that, okay, if you just focus on your breath, right, and suddenly anxious thoughts, anxious feeling, anxious thoughts, breath changes. So at that moment, when those things happen, when they take place, the anxiousness, the thoughts, you drift off into another place that's not very pleasant, really. And we don't really want to drift off into the unpleasant place, because you won't sleep, you stay awake. And so what you have to remember is come back to your breath, because the awareness is scattered, and it's like nature is taking over then. The environment is taking over. You've got no control over the environment is controlling you. So when you come back, then you're taking control of the environment and you're looking at your breath. Your breath is your environment. And they're like twins, or triplets, if you like, because body tenses, mind thinks, breath changes. So you've got triplets. A set of triplets going on. You can take note, you can become aware of thoughts, and if you control the thoughts, if you slow the thoughts down, you can make them into pleasant thoughts, or you can count 1, 2.
He should say count sheep, because he's Welsh.
Yes.
Counting sheep, yeah.
We were talking, and anyway, so you got the triplets, so, and so you can focus on the tension, because often we'll try to overthink something completely, away from this, and we're not aware at the same time we're thinking about something that's causing this to tense. So the other way around, we feel something where we are at. Maybe it's the presence of people. We feel tense without thought. And then later on you might think, and then it changes, the breath keeps changing all the time. So to take control of the car, you must put it into gear yourself and keep control over it. And it's the same, so you can look at it from the breath if you like, or I always go into the no mind, and then eventually I drift off. But look at the breath.
That takes practice, going in no mind.
Yeah, this is, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Okay, and in the breath, if you know the tricks of the breath, and for instance that you're breathing from your belly and you're low, right, and you go into nothingness, or into dream state if you like, because dream state is not nothingness. When you go to sleep, often you'll be in a nice pleasant place maybe, or just something mundane, and there's something going on in the background, this subliminal in a way, and you drift off into this dream, and then you're asleep. And so when you breathe, right, So the important part of the breath is breathing from a low, and then, because if you
Yeah, up your chest.
The top, that's tension, that is.
Yeah.
So you've got to come down low. And so when you breathe, first of all, it has to become more shallow, slow, and then eventually just breathe in. There's a slight pause. That's where it's at. And then breathe out.
On the turn of the breath.
The out is letting go of everything. And then it pauses. And it's the pause. And this can happen quite naturally. You can help it along by auto-suggesting it. And so you auto-suggest, you speak into your breath, relax. Beautiful. And so you get a sleep like that. And if you drift off somewhere because this is kicking off and this starts thinking, or this starts thinking this is kicking off, breath changes, then come back to it.
Yeah.
Because your awareness of disappeared again. You've become the instinctive thing. You live in your instinctive life, and you want to live beautiful life.
It takes practice to do it, because when you start trying to work with your anxiety, the first time you look at your breath, you might be able only to follow your breath in and out twice. The next important thing is to be kind to yourself. Do not criticize yourself. Don't get angry at yourself because you think, I'm not able to do it, because that all creates tension. When one of our daughters went through a bit of a difficult period, I always try to remind her, how would you treat your little daughter? With patience, right? Patience, with love. You wouldn't shout at your child, and those people who constantly shout at their children, maybe they should look at themselves too, because there's a lot of frustration and trying of control, and that makes them shout at children in combination with tiredness. Don't get me wrong, raising children, it can be very tiring, plus working and all the demands society put upon you. But because they are little, it doesn't give us the right to put our frustrations in our reactions. Because they don't behave.
You're in the instinctive mode, you're in the machine mode, but you haven't got time for nothing else.
But even if you do that, be kind to yourself, because that is where I always went wrong. I was too harsh on myself. I wanted to be perfect, but I had no idea how to be perfect. And now I've come to see the fact that I am not perfect, and that I know and accept that makes me a human being. And so if the anxiety gets too much and you try to work on it, don't be harsh on yourself. Accept yourself in compassion, isn't it? We have to be kind to ourselves. I think that is what we often forget, to be kind to ourselves. And being kind to ourselves doesn't mean spending money and buying ourselves food or having something to eat to comfort. That's not the kindness I'm talking about. Being kind is, what I'm talking about is acceptance. Okay, I messed that up, so what? Oh, I went back in those thoughts again, so what? Just start again. Because you will see first 2 breaths, then 4 breaths, and then all of a sudden you could follow 10 breaths. And then you do a step back again, because always remember, you will make process 2 steps forward, and you will do a step back. And that is part of the process. 2 steps forward, tiredness comes in, you get a step back again. Accept, be kind. And I think that is important if you have problems falling asleep or if you have anxiety attacks, because the more you fight it, the more tense you become, the more stronger the anxiety and panic attacks and depression and becomes. So you don't give up. I mean, I'm not talking about giving up.
No.
That is something totally different.
Sometimes, like, it's always finances mostly for people, that they haven't got enough money. It's like Jesus once said, you can't grow an extra inch by worry. And you've got to, you've gone outside there and you're in bed and you're thinking about the old process out there. And you can't get up tomorrow. You can't be up tomorrow and in bed at the same time. and let tomorrow take care of itself.
Yeah.
And you can take care of today. And so it's, if you you've allowed the mind to create these fantasies about what if, that, blah, and just by the same, a more simple practice as well is to think of a nice story and something beautiful. And, maybe it's something you've seen on TV and you love it, like Ghost, I like that movie. And especially that song.
Yeah.
How does that song go now? Oh, my love,
My darling,
I hunger
for your touch,
a long, lonely time.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that.
I think we need a little bit more wine,
Yeah,
then our voices will improve.
And anyway, so I think the same demon or mind can be turned into an angel mind, and think of something beautiful, like moments when you were a child with your dad or your
or
father,
not, depending.
Or your brother or your
Yeah,
sister.
it depends.
And just think of a nice, beautiful story. If you can't, if you're not good at sticking with the awareness on the breath or the tension in the body or stopping still in the mind. So there's more than one method, more than one road to Rome.
Yeah, because when we started, I handed over the tool about 2 things that you like to improve, 2 things you were really happy with. And what it is doing, and that is really or the breath or the nice place or the 2 things nice and not so nice. What it does, it takes the focus of the tsunami of thoughts. Because the more you look at that whirlwind of thoughts, the stronger it becomes. So to not feed that, that's why you give yourself something else to do in your mind, because during the day we keep busy all the time, so we are physically doing to not have to deal with the tsunami in our heads. But when we lie down in bed, and my mom suffered from that tremendously as well, all the worries about the children and grandchildren, and that is another thing, the worry that we do, because that feeds the tsunami. Maybe if you can remember to think, can I do something about it? Is it under my control, that which I worry about? No. If the answer is no, then it has no place in your mind. So, it's as simple as that. There's no point of worrying about stuff you cannot control. So, it's all little tricks to trick that tsunami and to cut it into pieces so it shatters, and then in time it will disappear. Because it will disappear. When I met you, my head was filled with a really huge whirlwind of thoughts. Well, it was a tornado, really. It drove me mad. I didn't understand why I couldn't stop thinking. I never heard about meditation, that meditation could do that. So then when you taught me to meditate, now I have nice peace and quiet in my head. A bit too quiet sometimes, because I forget things, because if you don't think about it, it doesn't exist, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
and that's the message. When you don't think about it, it doesn't exist. So
I think that's enough now.
Yes, that's enough.
Goes on too long.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And well done, everybody.
Yeah, we try to keep the talks a bit short.
Yeah, hopefully you can get a good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah.
And just remember the 3 triplets.
Yeah, and be kind to yourself, be kind to people around you. You don't know what they're going through.
That's important.
Be kind. Kindness. Be kind.
Yeah. Okay.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.